Series is on tools for credit union and members when faced with identity theft. Dusti Young has a passion for energy for spreading financial wellness through her role at GreenPath. Dusti connects people to financial wellness by working with GreenPath partners. Join Dusti as she gives us tools to utilize for members when faced with identity theft. So take it away, Dusti. And if you have anything to show us, any PowerPoints, then you know how to grab the share screen. Perfect. Thank you.
Sure do. So you guys, I am sorry, I'm going to be looking to my right where my screen is a little bit. So I will just apologize in advance. But like Christine said, my passion is really just making sure that people have the information that they need. And at GreenPath, we try to simplify things. So one of the things that I think is really interesting is that we grow up being told not to talk about money, politics, or religion. And there's a ton of shame around money. It's really hard, right? Like, you don't talk about money, and now all of a sudden it's your job to have conversations with other people who are also told not to talk about money. And especially when it comes to identity theft, it can be very embarrassing. You can feel like you're being taken advantage of. You can feel like you failed, or you should have known something and you didn't know. And sometimes you don't even know that it's happened until after the fact, and then you're trying to pick up the pieces. So GreenPath does a lot of different things to help members that might be kind of struggling with identity theft or might be the victim of identity theft. And we also have a lot of things to help with staff. So I really want to start with members. So when I take a look at kind of how GreenPath can help with identity theft, let me just share my PowerPoint here. We're going to take a look at some online resources. And what I did was I actually pulled up our website, because there's a lot of things that you can direct members and staff to right on GreenPath's website. So when we look here, we actually have, under GreenPath's resources and tools, we have this really great understanding your credit worksheet. This can be a really easy way to get members to talk about their finances, and to also help you identify if they've been the victim of identity theft, because it's going to end up on their credit report at some point, and you need to really kind of just do that drip campaign of, hey, it's a great practice to pull your credit every year, and we know that a lot of people don't know how to do that, and credit is so confusing. So let me just print out this worksheet because it simplifies it. So if you need to go home and explain this to your husband, it'll be really simple, right? Because then it's not about the member, it's actually about someone else. So letting your staff know that this is here. And you can also, what I've found successful, when I'm having conversations with staff that are talking to members, instead of telling someone to go search for this, you just copy and paste this into an email, or you print it out. But if I copy and paste this into an email, then they can be, working, running to meetings, and just open up their email and go where they need to go, versus having to find something. Because how many times do you have a conversation, and I actually do this with Christine sometimes, where she'll mention a really great podcast, or she'll mention a really great resource, and I mean to write it down, or I write it down, and then, I'm 4 pages deep in my notes and I forget to go back. So we want to make things as easy as possible for members. So this is a really great resource in terms of credit information. GreenPath also does a credit report review. So it's one thing to get your credit report, it's a whole different thing to understand what's on there. And if you feel like you've been the victim of identity theft, how do you get that information off? Most of us don't know, because we've never had to dispute information on our credit report. We've never actually had to walk through that process with someone. So GreenPath offers credit report reviews. These are completely free. Anyone can call. All that your member needs to do is get connected to GreenPath. We will review their credit report. We don't give them their score. We'll give them all of the tips and tools on how to regularly monitor that. And then we'll also talk with them about things that they might be facing. So what are some things that, gosh, you know what, you might be the victim of identity theft if you notice that someone is calling for your bank information. So I'm going to hop back to the PowerPoint and just explain what we do in this credit report review. So in the credit report review, which I just showed you guys, we're actually going to cover not just the credit report, but we'll also talk about what is identity theft, how does that occur, why would someone steal your information? Because that is, it varies. And a lot of times it's family members. And right now it's based on fear. Right, we have a lot of people that are taking advantage of the fact that people are scared, they don't know how to do things online, and because you don't know how to do things online, I'm going to pounce in and I'm going to take advantage of that because you don't know how to protect your identity. We'll talk about that next. How do they actually protect themselves? And then if they have been the victim of identity theft, how do they overcome that? And what are some frequently asked questions? Because we do this all the time, we can actually verbalize some of the things that they might be thinking and they don't even realize that they're thinking. Because a lot of times you do have questions and you just don't even realize that you have the question because you've never been through it before. So GreenPath offers all of those tools. For our partners, we will actually do staff training as well, which can be really, really helpful. Because a lot of your staff, they don't know what to look for when it comes to identity theft. They don't know what the red flags are. And identity theft is happening all over the place right now. With the fear and with people being new to online tools, oftentimes they don't know how to tell the difference between a secured internet connection and an unsecured. They're not sure if they should put their online banking information in somewhere or if they shouldn't. They don't know if it's a spoofing website. So we'll actually train your team on how to look for those things and how to explain those things to members so that things are a lot easier. And I think that oftentimes we don't talk about it on the front end, or it can be a really hard subject to get people involved in on the front end. So what we typically will do is we'll tie it into credit, because what we've found is that almost everyone has a goal of improving their credit score. And so being able to educate them on identity theft while we're educating them on credit is where the key. That's really where a lot of the magic happens, because when you talk about identity theft, they typically are not interested until after the fact. You'll notice the other thing that we have if you are a partner is we can create some co-branded tools for you. So this one here is on credit. We also have booklets that are just on identity theft. So these are really great things that you can put in your lobby, that you can send out in an email blast, that you can send out through email. When you have somebody and you notice that there's some warning signs on their account, because you guys know better than anyone, right? You know that all of a sudden, oh, well, you're not in Vermont. That seems really strange for you to not be in Vermont. Let me give you a call and find out what's going on. And then if you find out that, oh yeah, they are still here in Vermont, well then how are you going to help them? Well, how you're going to help them, how you can really show up is now send to them this information on identity theft, and this booklet actually talks them through what they can do to be prepared and what happens next if they've been the victim of identity theft. And again, really great on the front end. Sometimes it's just really hard to get people excited about identity theft until after the fact. So we do have these co-branded tools as well about credit, because if we can get people excited about credit, then we can wrap in the information on identity theft. So I want to stop here and open it up for questions that you guys might have.
I don't have much, but I just wanted to say that I think that is so true, that statement that you made, that there are so many new people that are starting to utilize online services and they don't know the tools that we do, or people that have been utilizing online services for so long. And I think that was a very true statement there, and that they're going to be victims probably. That's why we're seeing an uptick.
I think it's amazing, there's all these common phrases, and another common phrase is you don't know what you don't know, which I think is very true. I think that we have a lot of members that are experiencing that right now. And even I just spent the week with my parents up in northern Michigan, and my dad will not use direct deposit because he's afraid that they're going to know where he banks. One credit union.
Yeah.
One. I'm like, Dad, they know that you use Calcite Credit Union, and as soon as you cash your check, they are sure of that. And it's so funny because he won't do it, and they are terrified to put their information in online and to make purchases online because they're so worried that someone is going to take advantage of them. And that's hard, right? Like, I think even just encouraging your team to take the time when they're opening up accounts and when they're talking to members and when they see, because we're really in this area right now where people don't want to go to the store. However, if you're worried that someone's going to steal your identity, you might be afraid to put your account information in on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And so as convenient as that could be, how much are you missing out on because you're just afraid and you don't understand how it works? And really empowering your staff to understand that and to understand why people are acting the way that they are and being able to show up for them and just take the extra time to say, you know what, Christine, this is scary.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we actually get a prepaid account or a prepaid card and let's use that on Amazon instead of using your debit? Or we can set up alerts. You know, taking that extra time to educate them goes a long way because you're right. I mean, you said it exactly. You also don't know what you know.
Right.
We know this stuff. If they don't know this stuff, it's hard. I mean, it's a really big struggle because there's fear and there's barriers. And so instead of doing what you could do, you go back to just doing without because you're afraid. And what if things, I mean, in Michigan, we're shutting back down in a lot of ways because we're seeing an uptick. And in California, they did the same thing. So this could go on for a long time. And how many people, you know, there's a lot of very not nice people out there that are taking advantage of our members. And we want to make sure that we're proactively taking care of them.
I agree. Anybody have any other questions? And there's nothing in the chat.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Dusty. This was very informative. And if anybody wants to reach out to GreenPath, I'll make sure that I give them your email address.
Perfect. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day.
Thank you, too. Bye-bye.